Welcome, and thanks again for attending our breakout session. Today we're going to be talking about how Tableau IT manages its project portfolio and multi-million-dollar budget using Tableau. My name is Lindbergh Montaliano. I'm the business manager for technical operations, and to my right is Caitlin Haney. She's the operations portfolio manager. She'll be talking later on about how she uses Tableau to manage the project management office and a variety of projects. Thank you, Caitlin. So I'll just get into it. So, Aloha. I'm wearing my Aloha shirt. It's not Friday, but at Tableau, we usually wear Aloha shirts on Friday. But today is my last day here, so I'm bringing that culture over here to Austin. That and the weather's nice and warm. So, managing a multi-million-dollar budget with Tableau is no easy feat. A quick survey. How many of you guys are from finance? Raise your hands. Great. No finance jokes, okay. How many of you guys are from IT? Awesome. Any project managers? Bunch of you guys there. Anyone in sales? Great. I can use those sales jokes. How about marketing? Perfect. I got a lot of marketing jokes. So a lot of you probably are asking a couple of questions to yourself. First, my name is Lindbergh, and yes, that is my first name. And probably you're wondering, what does a business manager do? And I actually had to look it up because, one, it's in the title, but more specifically, a business manager ensures that our teams and departments have the resources that they need to accomplish their goals. And I utilize a lot of financial and operational information to do that, to make informed decisions, to keep my management informed, as well as communicate that information out to our various stakeholders. So you don't have to raise your hands here, but how many of you have been over budget? 10, 20, 30%? Anyone 50%? Eee. All right, we'll talk later. Or if you've been under budget by that amount. A lot of you can probably attest that that's probably just as bad because the people in finance will say, if you do that a couple more times, you're probably padding your budget. Or management is wondering whether or not you can execute on your plans. So it's a double-edged sword there, over budget, under budget. Someone's always questioning you. Have you ever been asked by someone, how much are we spending with a particular vendor? Or how much are we spending on the cloud? That seems to be a question that always pops up every time Amazon announces their earnings report and someone's asking me, how much are we spending with them? So I have something there and I'll show that to you. So today I'm going to show you how we in Tableau IT, manage the business of IT. Because really, IT is a business. I mean, we buy services, we buy hardware, we buy inventory, and our customers are our internal customers. So we're a business within a business, unlike some other departments. And I'm going to show you how I use Tableau to quickly answer many of the questions that I brought up here today. But let me jump back a couple years ago when I started with Tableau in 2014. We had cataloged about 100 applications and services that's paid for by IT. And we utilize approximately 6 applications to manage the business of IT. We had the tried and true Access database to do our capital planning. Anyone do that with Access? Awesome. We have Excel for our headcount planning and reporting. Anyone use Excel? Yeah, great. And then we use NetSuite for our financials, Agency, and Concur for travel and personal expenses. And then we use Workfront, which is a project management application for project management, but being IT, we're pretty ingenious. We also use it for our purchase requests and help desk ticketing. So, we definitely get a lot of value out of that. And Caitlin's going to talk about Workfront from a project management standpoint. Since I started 2 years ago, in 2016, we've actually cataloged over 300 paid applications and services within Tableau. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to trying to just get an inventory or a catalog of what's happening within your organization. Like many of you, that's what we were struggling with. So just about a year ago, I actually went through the exercise, used Tableau to look within our entire financial system and at least identified what we're paying for, and brought all of that, or at least brought most of it in within IT. And maybe a lot of people in finance can probably attest, if you're paying for it or if it's in your budget, you actually have a lot more control than if it's outside of your budget. In those 2 years, we've also added a lot more applications to help manage the business. We added Smartsheet. Any Smartsheet users here? Love that stuff, it's awesome. We use it for ad hoc project management and some data management. We implemented Coupa for procurement, which replaced Workfront in that regard, and then ServiceNow for help desk ticketing. Leaving Workfront primarily for now project management. And then Anaplan we implemented within IT for both our capital and headcount planning. So we did away with Access and Excel. And I actually haven't opened an Access database in, I believe, like 6 months. So that's a win. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. There you go. So you guys have probably seen this application, this title, 99 Problems and a Viz Ain't One. As many of you know, when you implement an enterprise level application, you get there are a lot of problems that you encounter. And there are 3 common problems that I encounter all the time, every time we implement an application. And these are the applications that we've implemented over the past couple of years. One is, every time you implement an application, there are specific reports in that application. Useful, but there's a lot of reports and dashboards that are specific to that application. Sometimes you need to learn a new programming language or reporting language. That's always a challenge. And you can see right here, I mean, if you necessarily need to do that, there's a lot of languages or reports you would have to learn and learn how to use. The second problem is there's actual cost to access the data. Companies are very smart. To even just access a report in an application, you need a license. So you have to pay for that license. And you combine those two together, paying for a license, specific knowledge, actually encourages data silos and more fragmented knowledge. So how does Tableau IT overcome those data silos and fragmented knowledge? I'm here to tell you that. We've overcome it all. Not really, still a challenge. But how do we do that? One is, like many of you, you probably have data warehouses for your big enterprise applications. And you have teams dedicated to pull that information in. So we have a data warehouse out there we call ALPO. It's a long acronym. I don't remember what it means, but then we actually have other data sources out there for more ad hoc reporting. And we pull that information in and publish it as data sources to Tableau, to our internal Tableau server, as well as to Tableau online. And we do that in a variety of ways. We utilize Tableau's desktop functionality to publish data sources. We also utilize Alteryx to publish that information. And then myself, I create a variety of reports, both in Tableau Mobile, Tableau Desktop, and obviously the browser, so that our users can access that information. And have the information that they need. At the same time, too, they're more than welcome to actually download my reports as a basis and then make it their own. So how do I manage the business of IT with Tableau? The 4 things I'm going to go through are probably something all of you do. I just call it something different, and I made it fit for pies, so it could be particularly vague. But our process includes foraging for data. It starts with a question that someone asks you. And it's probably a question that people ask you a lot. So you're tired of them asking you. You create a viz, and you tell them, here's the viz, stop asking me these questions, because you have that information there in a nice manner. The second question you ask yourself is, where's this data located? And you go through that process of foraging for the data. Luckily for me, I'm in IT, so I know where all the dead bodies are buried, or at least who buried the bodies. So that's always a benefit. So for those finance people here, buy your IT people some drinks. They can probably tell you where the information is. The next step is I look through the data with Tableau, and it's nothing particularly I do with it. I don't create dashboards. I just look at the data, pull in some trend lines and things like that. And what I'm looking for are particular trends or relationships in the data. Drivers that may drive the data up or down, the cost higher or lower. Identify patterns of behavior. For example, we know that particular months are very popular for traveling. Or for whatever reason, everyone submits their expense reports at the end of the quarter. Not that everyone's buying a lot of stuff in that final month. It's just someone just remembered, oh, I need to submit my $5,000 expense report for the past year. So those are the things that we look for, or I look for in the data. And then when I'm designing my report, I design for action. I want to encourage my users to take action. My vizzes aren't as pretty as a lot of the other vizzes out there from marketing and sales. They're simple in design, but one thing is common is that it drives the user to take action. And I utilize a bunch of Tableau's functionality, actions, to help make it easier for the user. The idea is to make it so easy for the user that they can do the right thing in the viz. And that may be obviously embedding actions, as well as allow users to sign up for subscriptions, or in 10.0, sign them up to your subscription. And then Caitlin will be talking about alerts. And that's one thing that I'm actually interested in using in my viz. But those are one of the things that we plan to do, or help manage the business. And then finally, the final thing is not really necessarily related to Tableau in general. What you want to do is make the information, your viz or data source, easy for your audience to consume, to locate. You can have a beautiful viz, but if you don't tell people where it is, they won't use it. So that's one important thing. Preparing an email, telling them where the viz is, creating a landing page on your internal wiki, those are important things. Creating an index for people to find that information. Those are important things to help drive users to your viz. Now I'm going to show you a few of my vizzes that I use to answer many of the questions, at least that I've asked today. There's actually 5. Oh, I forgot, and repeat the cycle. So, all right, 5 common questions. So I got a lot of IT people here. How many of you have been asked to tell the manager how many applications IT has or pays for? How many of you have been asked how much you've been spending with a particular vendor, perhaps Cisco? And then, obviously, how much have you been spending on the cloud? I bet you've all been asked that. How you're doing compared to plan, and then finally, you guys are going to get this when you get back. How much did you spend on travel, particularly at the Tableau conference, and what was that large expense? So those are one of the questions we'll look at. One caveat: so the data I'm going to show you is all dummy data. So don't freak out at some of the numbers because they're huge. So the first question I asked out there is, how much are we spending How much are we spending? Oh, I'm sorry. Question is, can you guys see that? Hold on 1 second. Let me bring that down here. Increase the size. Yep. It's a little better. So the first question is, how many paid applications are there in Tableau? So like I said, I actually go within our NetSuite information and count the number of applications out there. I use Tableau, and this actually shows you how much we spent on our applications over the past 4 years. And then below is what our lifetime investments are in those applications. You know, we spend a lot of money on Iron Man technologies, so you know, don't tell anyone that. Not as much as Wayne Enterprises. Not big fans of Batman. I'm just kidding. Love Batman too. So that's one of the things that we do here in Tableau, using Tableau. And then the next question probably people ask a lot is, how much is the application cost per head by a particular department? So I'll give that some time here. Someone could be on the internet outside streaming a Netflix video. So we'll move on there, and I can show you that information later on when it comes available. The next question people often ask is, how much are we spending? How much are we spending with a particular vendor? So simply typing in here, let me kind of set this up. When I started with Tableau, we used Workfront for our purchase requests, and our purchasing team went out and typed in the purchase request manually into NetSuite. Then about a year ago, we switched over to Coupa, and all our purchase data was in Coupa. So one of the big problems, obviously, is you got information in NetSuite, information in Coupa, and someone asking you how much do you spend in total. The old way of doing it is run a report in NetSuite, run a report in Coupa, and then go in Excel and add it. Well, with Tableau, as well as with Alteryx, we combine both of those data fields. So now I actually have all the purchase history across our company in an easy-to-digest dashboard. So you can type in here, and for example, I'm going to use Cisco, because a lot of you are probably familiar with Cisco. Once again, fake data. We don't spend that much money. So you can see here quickly that I can show you how much are we spending. That's the top by year. And then below that, you see those little tiny bubbles. Those are actually transaction information that you can hover over, telling you what you bought. So that's actually particularly useful to answer questions. You don't necessarily want to have like a giant tab or giant table of transaction history. And then you can see here which departments, who we buy from, because Cisco is usually sold through a VAR, and then what types of accounts are they hitting. But how many of you actually have been asked that question sitting down in a meeting in front of your management, asking for that information right now? And usually the response is, you know what, I'll get you that information as soon as I get back to my desk. So I actually created that same viz is actually a mobile viz, and you can see here it has the same information. And there's a bar there where you can search, and then a supplier and account information. So I can actually answer that question on the fly with my mobile app. Now that I transition to my mobile app, probably the next question someone will ask is, hey, how much are you spending on AWS? And I've had instances where we actually had this information or question on the fly, and one of our managers simply pulled up the Tableau app and answered the question to one of our execs. So in this one, it's a pretty simple viz. Shows you their budget. It shows you The blue line is 2016, the orange is the last year, and then it shows you how fast you're approaching your annual budget amount. And then below it is the color-coded to what particular group you're spending it on. So the dark blue, for example, is our development organization. They spend a lot of money on AWS. And then below is color-coded to what kind of services. So for example, EC2. Now the next question people often ask is, management often asks is, how are you doing against your budget? And I like to have this viz available because it quickly tells you whether or not you're forecasted to be over or under your particular budget. So you can quickly see that plus or minus 5%. It can tell you right now that, hey, our capital investments were forecasted for the year to be under budget. That allows our teams, even though it's September, I believe this data, fake data is based off of, that means you at least have 3 months to adjust accordingly. And you can see actuals and then your budget. And then below is our departments on where we're spending. So the darker red, the more variance there is. So we know that, hey, Dev IT is spending over. I reach out to the Dev IT director and ask him, hey, what can you do to offset these expenditures? Or is there something coming up later on that means that the forecast will be lower? And same thing with Corp IT. Then on below, you can see our operational investments, which are our expenses. And lo and behold, we're doing really well, 3%, within 3% of the budget. So, and then our various departments. So this information is quickly available for us on the mobile phone. But at the same time, if you want to actually see the data, let me go back. You can actually see the data, same exact viz, but designed for the desktop or browser. It has more information. You have your people costs, your computer equipment and operation costs. How are you doing with that? And where those potential overages are. And our teams are able to look at this information, either subscribe to it or look at it on a regular basis and act on that information. Then the final question, a lot of you guys are going to come back with on Monday, and you can tell them, hey, I learned something awesome, we should implement this. And let me make it bigger. Oops. It's hidden somewhere behind this. Let me grab it. So this is when you go back to your company, you can say, hey, I can create I saw this awesome viz to help us manage our travel and expenses. This is just an example. You can actually apply this to any other type of account. But what you can see here is on the top left-hand corner, your left-hand corner, is our budget and our forecast. You can see, we're forecast to be below budget, which is great. That means our teams could either redeploy the funds somewhere else, or our finance teams, which many of you are here, probably would love to bank that for other things. Below that is our monthly spend by department. So we know this blue line right here there's a lot of this big blue line. That means our IT department spends the most money there. The top right-hand corner is by account, so you can see that spend. And then below that is our top 5 travelers, I like to say. This is a nice chart. You always get a lot of calls from this. He gives me a call every time he sees it, but I'm like, hey, Jeff, it's okay. You're good. But you can see here, this information shows you that who are the top spenders. And then below that is that little bunch of ants below. That's actually a very useful outlier graph. The reason why it's very useful is you can quickly see and identify areas where their spend is outside the norm. For example, Caitlin. I don't know, Caitlin's been buying, but she didn't invite me to that meal, so I'm a little upset. And you'll notice that there's a blue link there. You can actually email the traveler within the browser, and it'll open your your Outlook, and then you can send them an email. Caitlin, why didn't you invite me to dinner? That looked like a pretty good dinner. Maybe that's a barbecue for our entire team. So that's one of the usefulness of this chart. And like I said, I only did this for travel entertainment, but you can really do this for a lot of other accounts, particularly those accounts that have a lot of transactions. Great. So that was the demo. Now, I showed you how Tableau IT just manages its budget using Tableau. Now I'm going to bring up Caitlin, and she's going to talk to you about how Tableau IT manages its vast project portfolio with Tableau. Thank you. Thanks, Caitlin.
Hi, thank you for being here. I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you about our project management office. Honestly, I could probably talk about our PMO for hours. Of course, the one time I say yes and agree to speak about it is the day after data night out at noon. So thank you for being here. The good news is that I've had my Starbucks and I'm ready to go, and we're just going to get started. So Tableau has been on an incredible journey. We were a stall startup just a few years ago, and we've grown quite quickly to becoming an enterprise company. We now have over 3,000 employees worldwide, and we face many challenges scaling our business to support the employees that live across the world. So this isn't a unique problem to Tableau. It's actually a pretty incredible problem to have. It's something many companies wish they had a problem with, and we realized that we had an opportunity to do something great with that. So we've done an excellent job growing to date, and we've facilitated growth in many different areas and benefited from it. But we realized that we could afford to do better internally, and we needed a solution for that growth and a way to push us forward. So our mission statement at Tableau is to help people see and understand their data. And the project management office mission statement is to help people see and understand project data. Seems pretty easy, right? Well, it wasn't easy for us at the time, and we realized that we needed to change that. So I'm here today to talk about how we redefined our PMO internally at Tableau using Tableau. I want to highlight some of the things that we've done, I think, really well, and hopefully you can learn from our experience and the things that we've done well and take them back to your companies when you leave our Tableau conference. Okay, so I'd like to give you a little perspective on the growth that we faced internally. This is Tableau in 2008. Great, small, comfortable little team standing in Fremont. That's our office there. It was a great company at the time. It still is, honestly. But great ideas keep it coming from these people. Lots of collaboration. just small enough team that you could work together quite easily and communicate pretty effectively. You know, the benefit of having a team this size is that if you have a wonderful idea or if you want to start to bounce ideas off of each other, you can literally stand up and communicate to your neighbor and have that conversation and start to create that dialogue and move the business in the right direction. Now I'd like to show you a picture of Tableau last year. Little bit of growth, a few more people. Haven't been able to find myself in the crowd yet, probably won't. So this was us last year at our global sales kickoff in 2015. So as you see, we've grown quite exponentially, and something that we realized is that we needed to change the way we were managing our business. We struggled with communication and transparency once we got to this size. With this many people and this volume, we just didn't have the same culture that we had in 2008 as a small company. Simple questions that people would ask us at any point in time became rather difficult to convey and clearly communicate with the people that you worked with, not just in your own office that you were sitting down the hall from, but people across the pond in our UK office that we weren't on the same time zones with, or in Singapore that we struggled with explaining the things that we were focusing on. So questions like, how many projects do we have in flight? Excellent question. Wonderful. Wish I could tell you. Really do. Who requested those projects? Don't know. When can we expect delivery? Probably a lot of you program managers or project managers in the audience are very familiar with that question. We needed a way to concisely and very clearly communicate what we were doing and how we were doing it. One of our core cultural values at Tableau is to delight our customers. And those are customers both externally, you here today, we hope we're delighting you, and internally. But what we realized is that we weren't delighting our customers at all. We were actually doing them a disservice by not providing the information that they needed to grow and manage their business as we continued to transform. So we were delivering great projects. We were very useful and effective, but we had little clarity on what we were actually working on and little transparency in that process. We needed a way to demonstrate the focus that we had as a business team to the rest of the company so that we could show them these are the expectations we have of ourselves and this is what we promise to deliver to you at the end of the day. All right. So this process for us has been, like I said, a journey. In the last year, we have made many changes to our project management office. If someone were to ask me today to start this process all over again, I definitely have some ideas about things I do differently, things that I've learned, takeaways, and things that we actually excelled at. So whether you have a robust PMO office already for your current company, or you're a new company, maybe a small startup just starting project management internally, you're going to face the similar challenges, whether it's big or small, with communication and transparency. My goal in this presentation today is to show you how we manage that growth using Tableau, and you can learn from the evolution that we had as we managed our PMO. All right, nice little visual of all the people in your company, hopefully. I'm sure many of you have faced this challenge within your own companies. Tableau is full of very passionate, smart people with incredible ideas and lots of focus on how we as an IT organization can make them successful, how we can grow their business and what they need from us to facilitate that. So as the company's growing from 2008 on and the people are growing, guess what? Requests are continuing to grow. So new software tools, new applications. Lindbergh showed you all the applications that he saw grow from 2014 to 2016. These requests were just growing exponentially across departments, and we needed ways to support those requests. We realized that we had been way more work coming in than we could even prioritize, and we needed to manage that flow in a significant way. So we turned to Tableau to look at our data and understand how to catch up on a process that would help that. So you're probably wondering, how did we get here? This wasn't an overnight issue that just popped up one day. It wasn't something that we weren't solving for. It's something that's kind of grown as we've grown as a company. So the truth is, managing our project management office, or just projects in general, in Tableau, the product is not new for us. This isn't something that we just started doing last year. It's something we've been doing for quite some time. And as we've been growing with the product and the releases, we've been continuing to use all of the tools that we have within the product. In 2005, we used Excel. Great project management tool to use at the time. We were small enough that it fit our need. It was very fit for purpose. It was extremely flexible. It served exactly what we needed at the time and was, pretty good for us. In 2011, we implemented formerly @Task, which is now Workfront, a project management tool, which Lindbergh touched on earlier. This was a great tool for us at the time, and definitely is still today. We, in 2011, had more teams, we had more work coming in, and we used it in a variety of ways. So we used it for our project management. We also used it for service management and program management. We threw a lot in that tool, and it was really helpful for us to grow in a more robust way. So it was effective until we became a global company, and we realized that we needed to change. So in 2015, we had a tipping point. We had outgrown looking at work as individual customer groups and realized that we needed to change the way we were managing it. So we had started to realize that there were more cross-functional initiatives and roadmaps being developed across teams. So instead of requests just coming from marketing, we had requests coming from marketing and development. Guess what? They want to work together, and they need projects that serve each other, and we need to help show them that progress. We also realized that we didn't have enough dedicated teams internally to support all of these requests. So at the time, we thought we were doing really well. We were having all of our status updates. We were holding all the meetings with the business. We were sending weekly report after weekly report, project update. We were feeding the information as best we could, but we needed more. It wasn't holding up to the work that we were supporting. So everyone in the company had their 5 requests that they were working on. This is my top 5 priority. I'm sure you've heard these conversations before. But we needed to raise the level of visibility across teams at an executive level to start to have a conversation to say, help us prioritize and plan and execute on the things that are most mission critical for our business going forward. So in order to do that, we had to reorganize the way we looked at projects. And to facilitate that, we went to Smartsheet. It was a great tool for us in last year when we used it. It was really easy and effective. We jumped into it quite quickly, and were able to come up with a prototype that worked for us to start to understand our world as a PMO. So based on the Smartsheet data, I was able to publish an executive dashboard, which is what I'll show you next, and that is the world as we know it today. Kind of pretty, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do a demo with you guys for the executive dashboard, but I first want to show you a snapshot of what it looks like here and kind of anchor on a few things and show you the information that's here. Unlike Lindbergh and his many beautiful dashboards, we have one, and it's, to me, amazing. And it's full of lots of really great content, and it's organized in a great fashion. So I want to just show you a few pieces before I move forward. So you can see here on the left that there's an executive summary. When I talked earlier about our cross-functional initiatives, I mentioned that we have new things that we're working on that aren't just one department focused. So the way that we talk about those are as tracks. So when we rolled this out last year, we realized that we had 16 tracks that represented the work in flight across the company. We also have individual tracks for our individual departments, development, operations, sales, and marketing. But there are other tracks that cover multiple teams. So we have analytics, for example, or customer experience. Those represent multiple departments who all have vested interests in what's going on in that track. A benefit of this is that we also created a track driver position, which is, for us, someone within the IT organization that helps facilitate and manage the projects going on within that track. And an area owner, which is someone within the business. The benefit of using, or of publishing, excuse me, these roles on this dashboard is it creates less confusion. So as people transition to new roles, or we onboard and continue to grow as we have been, people can come to this single source of truth and see, I'm in marketing and I'm starting out, I'm very interested and passionate about this new project that I want to get started. Who do I talk to about it? This creates a clean space for people to understand that if you're in marketing and you have something new you want to talk about, go see Lauren Denfield. She's your track area owner, and she'll get you started, and you can start to have conversations about prioritizing work instead of people, running around the business trying to get information and trying to be heard. The next area I'd like to focus is just up top here. So you can see stakeholder and audience. The benefit of this dashboard is that it's the entire world of the PMO. But in case you don't want to see the entire world, you can filter down to just what you care about most. And by providing that, we can see everything and very few things all at once. And lastly, project status. I'm sure many of you have faced this challenge in the past, but people were kind of running around with different ideas of where their project status were at the time. So, the project manager would say, oh yeah, we're good, everything's great, we're feeling green on condition, our status is excellent. And the business might be saying, things are going sideways, we're losing it, we're going way off track. And they weren't really reporting it the same way. So by publishing it here, we can show we're all in agreement where the project lies. This is the status of the project, and we all agree that that's the case. And if it isn't, great. Let's have a conversation about it, though. Let's communicate with each other and talk about that. All right. Next. Okay, so you just saw this. This is our executive dashboard. Imagine I am a operations executive, and I'm interested in the projects and operations, and that's pretty much it right now. I don't need to see everything going on. It's wonderful there's 65 projects in flight. You can see there's 5 on hold. We completed 11 this quarter. Wonderful. But I just really want to know what's in operations and what's in it for me. So I filtered down by stakeholder to operations, and I see my dashboard change. I realize there are 30 active projects for operations, and 8 of those projects, 8 of the 11, good job us, were completed in this quarter for operations. That's wonderful, but I want to dig a little deeper. I want more information about the things that I care most about. So I'm going to click on the customer experience track, and I want to, dig into this and understand how this track is going and what projects are being completed and what they're working on and focusing on for our company. I can see now that there are a list of projects here that represent all of the work in customer experience. I have a track description, so if anyone's new to the company and they say, what's customer experience? I've never heard that. I don't know what that is, and I'd like more content or information. They can hover over a track description and get a nice, quick, high-level overview on what that track represents. You can also see here that there's a list with rank and projects of all the work we have in flight across customer experience. Now I'm most interested in the portals work, so I'm going to click on Portals 2.0. Now I get even more information. Here in this right-hand side, you can see a project description, so you have a high-level description on what's going on with that project and what exactly they're going to accomplish. I can also see a target delivery date. I know some project managers are a little leery to put dates, especially delivery dates, on your projects, but we're targeting this date, so help us work towards that date. You can see project status is active. We all agree it's an active green project. The status isn't looking so great. Conditions a little at risk. Maybe we want to check in with our project manager or our area owner and start to have a conversation about why the project is at risk at this time. Great information to have. You can also see that there's a status update. So down below here, this is the last status update that the project project manager made on their project on Portals 2.0. So again, the benefit of the executive dashboard is you have the entire world of your PMO at a high level overview, which is great at executive level, and then you can dig in deeper as you go and find additional information about the projects that impact you the most. I'll go one step further. Hovering over the project, I can use tooltips to see if I am Beth Perong and I want to manage my project, I can open it in Workfront and start to make changes immediately on my project and updating my business stakeholders. Or if I'm still an operations executive and I realize that I love the information that's being presented here, but I want to know more. I want to know exactly which task you're working on. I want to know what risks we've identified, and I want to get additional information. The benefit of this is that I can click into the project page and link myself into our internal wiki in Confluence. Voila. So you can see here, same visual theme that we've experienced with the executive dashboard. We want the experience to be the same for across our company. We want our executives, we want people in different departments to receive information from us in a similar manner, so they're not running around trying to get familiar with what we're telling them. They're just getting the information. We've published this view here as a project dashboard view. Every project we have internally is represented this way on our wiki. You can get all of that information from the executive dashboard. You can see that we have, first and foremost, who's the project manager if I have questions? Great, published. Who's sponsoring this project? Who requested this work? So I can talk to them about it if I have questions. When are we completing it? A description like we had on the previous page. You can see the last status update. I want to know your timeline. So we have a Gantt view of every single task that this project manager is representing on their project, as well as when they completed it or if it's still in progress. Additionally, we have all of our risks outlined. So with any good project, there will be risks that we need to identify and call out ahead of time. You can see that here. Yeah? Is that available on GitHub? I'll take questions at the end. Oh, okay, I'm back. I'm almost back. 2 seconds. Okay. So like I showed you in my demo, I have my executive dashboard published to our internal server on Alpo. So it's completely open to the entire company. We have our permissions wide open to anybody who wants to see it and who's interested. The benefit of being a company that shares so much information and having so much self-service is that we can publish that information and serve it up to our customers at any point in time. So a few takeaways from my overview today on the PMO. There are many benefits of using Tableau to manage your project management office. I'd just like to go over a few of them that we've talked about. So better reporting is one thing. What used to take, X amount of hours, X amount of time during the week, or someone sending a status update to someone else's update to someone else's update to then go into my update is just a waste of time. And it's not very effective because by the time that information comes out, it's pretty stale. The benefit of using the executive dashboard is that's literally our report now. That is a dynamic report that lives and breathes and is available at any point in time. So if your project manager is working Friday afternoon at 6 p.m. making their status updates, I'm not waiting for them to send me their update to send my report. They can publish it whenever they want, and you can see that information continually 24/7. We also we're able to change the conversation a little bit internally. So we found that instead of having meetings where you would come to a meeting and get a status update about your project, that's no longer the Tableau way. That's not the expectation when you come to one of our meetings. We assume that because we've published this information and we've given you this self-service, that you're educated on the projects you care about and that you understand where the status lies already, and you're coming to the table having that information already so that we can talk about what's next. We can talk about things that are maybe going sideways or that we're doing really well, or if we want to pull our timeline in. You can start to have a conversation that's more informed because we've already given our customers the content they need to understand where the project is. We also started really small with this process. So we transitioned our discussion from should we do this or should we not do this to how can we do what we already have and make it better. By starting small and working in Smartsheet, we really had the benefit of just saying, let's jump into this lightweight tool and start to prototype it and see how it works and get everyone's buy-in on it and publish it and start running with that and then iterate on it. We have a lot more transparency as a company. So we saw early on in my slides that we've just grown exponentially and we needed a way to show transparency to our customers. We need to have them understand what we're working on. When we did this exercise initially back last October, I went to all the project managers and begrudgingly I asked them, hey, can you help me out with this? I need you to show me all the work you have in flight. Show me everything you're working on. And I don't know if any of you have asked project managers this before, but it was a lot of blank stares and a lot of questions and ideas on how we should do it. You know, everybody has an opinion on how we should manage this and get a group of PMs together and facilitate that conversation. They're all going to have, you know, ideas on how we can be successful. But what we realized in that conversation was we had 150 projects in flight, which was just too much. We didn't have the capacity or the resources to deliver on those projects, and we weren't going to be able to do it. We couldn't manage that much work. And so that in that process, we realized that by providing the information to the company to say, this is what we have going on, help us prioritize and be informed about what exactly is being asked of us and how you could partner with us, it changed everything. You know, people want information, and when they have the information, they'll make really good decisions with it, but you have to give it to them, and you have to make that easy to consume. One of another benefits of using Tableau is it's tool agnostic. So you saw early on in my PMO evolution is that we went from Excel to Workfront. We transitioned to Smartsheet for a period of time. Once we got into Smartsheet, we prototyped for 3 months. We figured out what we wanted to see. We published our executive dashboard, and it was beautiful, and people were happy. After 3 months, once we realized what we had and what was working, we thought, let's go back to Workfront, use this tool for what it is, a PM tool, and you know, now that we know how we want to see it, let's organize it in the tool and let the tool do that for us. The benefit of using Tableau is that we just, you know, made some updates to our ETL, changed our data source, and swapped out Smartsheet for Workfront, and the business was none the wiser that anything had changed on the back end. So there was no delay in information. People were still getting their self-service, and they had no idea that we completely changed how we were running our business. Lastly, I'd just like to say that the PMO for us is constantly changing, and it will for you as well. We feel really passionately about what I hope I've conveyed. I feel passionately about what we've done at Tableau and how we've managed the PMO over the last year. I realize there's plenty of things that we've done great, and we're really happy with that. But there are plenty of things that we could do better, and we will continue to do better as we continue to grow. Lindbergh showed us some amazing dashboards earlier today, and there's plenty of ways that we could incorporate the work that he's doing with our PMO and work together on those things. So I encourage you, after this demo and overview, to think about your own internal management process. Think about your company. Think about what you do as a team today and the examples that I've given you, and think about how you could potentially use Tableau internally to manage your project process. That is the end of my presentation. I'm going to bring back up Lindbergh, and we'll open for just 5 minutes of Q&A. If we don't get to all of your questions, I'm sure that both Lindbergh and myself will stick around to answer additional questions, and we can give you guys our contact information.
Actually, that question.
Oh.